wolves all female? I mean, you talk about the she-wolves, and clearly Victoria Harvey is one of the principal ones, but you then talk about Jay Beecher. So there are others here who, I mean...
There are.
And how effective have they been?
Pretty effective. The way that they really affect the Epstein victims is really through wearing them down psychologically and really kind of harassing them to a level that I think it makes it very difficult for them to heal. I think the biggest tragedy of all of this has been Virginia Giuffrey. And one of the things that I'm working towards in the She Wolves of London is talking about the weeks leading up to her death and the amount of psychological pressure and smearing that Lady Victoria Harvey campaigned on publicly, went on any show she could. And Virginia also knew that Lady Victoria Harvey had a history of sliding into the DMs of any individual that Virginia ever had a conversation with, trying to look for dirt on her. So I know I shouldn't speculate on this, but my suspicion is that Virginia was dealing with so much pressure, and then she had this additional person who I'm sure Virginia was worried that Lady Victoria Harvey was going to try to interfere with her custody battle with her husband. And
how could she do that? I mean, what sort of things were being said about Virginia Giuffrey? I mean, there was clearly some sort of mixed messages coming out about her bus accident. What's the story there?
Well, I want to be really sensitive about Virginia Giuffrey, especially because we have just, passed the 1 year anniversary of her death via suicide. My full-time job is in mental health. I am a therapist, and so I don't want to speculate on what was going on there. What we know is that she was going through a separation with a physically violent partner, and she was also losing custody of her children. And
why would she lose custody of her children if her husband is the one who's physically violent?
I'm not. So again, I don't want to speak too much because I don't, that situation I do not want to speculate on too much. But from my understanding there was a domestic violence incident, and in Australia, he was able to basically convince the police that it was of her account versus his. And so for some reason, there was a custody issue there, and she had temporarily lost custody or lost contact from her children.
Gosh. And what sort of things was Victoria Harvey saying?
Before we get to that, I need to talk about the full plot. So in 2023, I am on TikTok and I am reporting about Epstein files, as much as we could find at that point in time in 2023. And a man slid into my DMs named George Bing Tonks. I've been on the fence about talking about him, but I realize he is central to the story because this man has worked his way into so many very public controversies that...
Yep. Well, he DM'd me today, sharing, trying to discredit some of the victims. So, I mean, he gets...
that's who he's on right now. That's Lady Victoria Harvey's target right now, is Aniska DiGiorgio. And he's also partnered with, other fraudulent actors. But getting back to... I'm going to start at 2023.
Right,
So 2023, George B. Tonks slides into my DMs and says, and at that point in time, he and Maria were friends. He would speak publicly for Maria all the time because by that point in time, Maria had kind of backed off of her own social media. It was not healthy for her. And so he was presenting himself as basically her liaison, her PR rep. And he slid into my DMs and he's, was telling me, oh, Maria loves your content. He was also sliding into the DMs of another TikTok creator that is a friend of mine. And very quickly, it was clear he was trying to push us to make content for him. I wasn't making content for him. He pushed my friend to make content for him. But more importantly, he was really wanting me to talk to Maria Farmer. And that was something that I was reticent about, because I had seen so many times where the victims had been interviewed by a TikToker or somebody else in YouTube, and then it goes very badly, and then things get misconstrued. So I was not wanting to, be exploitative of any of the victim stories. But he was very pushy and persistent with me. And one day I finally got on the phone with her, and we had a lovely chat. And then about 2 weeks later, oddly, he starts telling me that he has been working with Lady Victoria Harvey for over a year at that point in time, that he admitted all of this stuff to me, that he had been secretly tape recording Maria Farmer, that he also said that he tape recorded Virginia Giuffrey, although I do not believe that's true. And he told me the reason he was doing this was that he wanted to ruin the victim's FBI case, because the only justice in 2023 that the victims could potentially get at this point in time was a tort suit against the FBI for failure to investigate. So George knew that Maria had intention to file a tort suit. And so he was partnering with Lady Victoria Harvey to intervene on that tort suit and to basically discredit Epstein victims and, again, keep transparency away.
Right. And so how did they do it? I mean, they tried to claim the photo was fake, and they clearly trolled them and kind of, insulted them. Were there other things they did? Are there other things that they claim, I think they challenged the accuracy of some of Virginia Giuffrey's sort of stories, things like that. But was it all coordinated, or did they all come from slightly different positions?
Slightly different positions. Maria Farmer's was all related to George tape recording her and making up strange stories. He's claiming that she asked him to find pens from the 90s so that she could write a new journal to make it look like she wrote a journal in the 90s. And I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, can people really tell if ink is from the 90s? But so that was one, and he shared all of her personal conversations, everything with Lady Victoria Harvey. So what they would do is Lady Victoria Harvey would go on her Instagram page with her 560,000 followers. She would post all these terrible things. Look at these lying girls. Look at these, and this would create, psychological torture, definitely for Maria.
People could do. I mean, this sounds libelous, some of the things that were being said. Was this looked at by any of these people?
So what ended up happening is, when George told me all this stuff, he also was trying to butter me up, saying things like, oh, if you make content basically against the Epstein survivors, that he would share it with King Charles. And so very, very fantastical claims, but shared with somebody like Lady Victoria Harvey, who has access, who can get on media, who can, say these things very publicly, becomes very damaging. So what happened?
Sorry to interrupt, but why haven't the media challenged this? I mean, if this is patently untrue, why haven't they been held to account? Why are the media giving publicity to people like Victoria Harvey? I mean, I know they need to create another person in the debate, but if she's saying things which are patently false, it doesn't seem to be very ethical journalism.
That's a good question. But she also is fabulous at confabulating. And so she'll take something that's completely benign and turn it into something that's, something controversial.